entrepreneurship is a lifestyle, and I'm thankful to have found this path towards career nirvana. Nirvana is probably a good word to segue into our mindful moment that I'm really looking forward to. Know for our viewers that this was not scripted. I'm not sure what Michael has in store for us, and that is something that I want to enjoy as well. And so, Michael, I'll give you the mic for the next 5, 10, 15 minutes. Take as long as you'd like. And Jay, if you don't mind, maybe taking me down and letting Michael really lead us over the next few minutes. I'll be back to enjoy some conversation with Diana and Jessica. But first, Michael, please.
Thank you, Ben. That was I love how you went into meditation voice. Michael, please. Hi, everybody. So I was talking in the Discord with, I think it was Chad and April, about how when we are doing this kind of thing in person, there's like an energy in the room. Everybody kind of gets a sense of who they are. We've all gone through some steps to get there, right? We drove, we went into the room, maybe we got coffee, whatever the thing is. And when we do it here virtually, there's none of that. So we're joining from all over the world. Some of you have participated in maybe a dozen or even more of these startup weekends. Some of you are here for the first time, and we have no idea who each other are. We're going to get to know that over the next 26 hours. But I thought it would be really beautiful just to take a moment to enter our shared space together, not just log in on Discord. So what I've done is I've lit a candle. I'm showing this to you so you know I'm not making it up. It's a real candle. And I'd like to just take a moment to imagine that we are sitting around a campfire together. As startup entrepreneurs have done for the last 100,000 years, we always start out around a campfire. So what I'm going to invite us to do is first remember we have a body. So I'm going to stretch a little bit. If you want to stretch, in that video that we couldn't hear, I noticed how everybody was like actively moving and very engaged. And one of the things that happens when we do this stuff online is we forget we have a body because we're so focused right here. So invitation number one is just to stretch a little bit, right? Creativity, entrepreneurship is a full body experience. So let's just invite that. And then just maybe take a nice big breath. And then release it. All right, now we're ready to gather around the campfire. So for this next bit, and this will just be about 5 or 6 minutes, I'm going to invite us all to do a guided visualization together. Some people hate this crap, and that's fine. If that's you, you can just kind of soft focus towards the ground, close your eyes, and let my quasi-hypnotic voice kind of soothe you if that feels fun. But for the rest of us, I'd love to bring us into this space together just with our imagination. So if you want to, and if it's comfortable for you, I'll invite you to close your eyes for a moment. And slow your breathing down. So just become a little bit aware of your breath and allow your breathing to take up a bit more space. If you want to, you can count to 3 or 4 as you breathe in. And then as you release, just let it out with a sigh. And as we breathe, the reason that we're slowing the breath down is to increase the coherence between our mind and our body, which is how we enter that state of creativity known as a flow state. Right? If we're breathing too quickly, if we're too amped up, we're much more likely to get frustrated. We're not going to have access to all of our best ideas. So just take a nice slow breath in. Release it with a sigh. And now I'll invite you just to imagine being in a beautiful place in nature on a beautiful warm evening. And imagine just being gathered around a campfire with these amazing people from all over the world who have come together to create, to build, to be of service in some way. And just for these few moments, if you want to, you can even maybe rub your hands together a little bit and hold them with their palms facing forward. I'll do it so you don't feel so silly. And imagine that you can actually feel the heat of that campfire against your hands. And imagine you can feel the physical presence of the other entrepreneurs, creators, community builders all around you. And now what I'll invite you to do is just take a moment and imagine what you want to feel like 25 and a half hours from now. Really build the image. What will you be wearing? How will your body feel in a good way? We wouldn't be here if we want to feel thrashed and horrible. So the best possible version of tomorrow evening. And just allow that feeling to become alive in your body. We don't need to know how you got there, but just know that you are flushed in this moment with a feeling of accomplishment and a feeling of connection and a feeling of having brought something that has not existed before into its next stage of existence. Tomorrow evening, you will have created something new. Take a moment to feel the accomplishment of that. And just take a nice slow breath in and then release it. And again, a nice slow breath in and release it. If you want to, if they're closed, you can open your eyes. If your eyes are open, look at something new. And I just want to share a couple of things with you that might be useful, right? Like Ben said, over the next 20 whatever hours, there will be challenges. There's going to be frustration. All of that happens. When we come up against that, when we get frustrated, right? All the science, all the fancy research, but also common sense tells us that if we slow down, even for just a moment, and breathe with your team, just take 3 slow breaths together. Often even the most tenacious of knots tends to loosen, right? And that's because we're helping the mind and the body reconnect. And finally, I just want to share 2 quotes with you from teachers who I love very much. One is named Bayo Akomolafe, and he says, "The times are urgent. We must slow down." So yeah, right? We only have like 20 whatever hours to create a whole business and a pitch and all of these things. And while that seems to tell us that we need to work very, very quickly, it might actually be more productive sometimes to slow down, to rest, get a drink of water, breathe, pet your dog, whatever it might be, right? The other quote is from Adrienne Maree Brown, who's a wonderful facilitator and science fiction author and just badass human. And she says that progress happens at the speed of trust. You're going to be working in teams that have never worked together before. So maybe before jumping into all of the ideas and playing with the tools, take the time to build a little bit of trust with each other so that as you move through the next 20 or so hours, you'll have that base of human connection. And again, if all else fails, if you find yourself just at like odds with each other, you can look at each other through these cameras or on Discord and just get like, hey, let's take a breath. And so I'll close, Ben, just by inviting all of us one more time to take a slow breath together. And as we do that, doing it with the awareness that all over the world right now, there's a group of badass entrepreneurs who are taking a breath together. And that if all we accomplish is we remember, oh, wait a minute, we're all connected. And when we work as a team, amazing, unimaginable things happen. That's a good use of time. So here we go. Nice slow breath. And release. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have the best time this weekend, and I'm so excited to come back tomorrow and see what y'all have built.
So this is my first, I would say, kind of accidentally coming into like a startup style community. And this is my first experience using Discord. So all of these things are new, brand new for me. I've always come from the special event side, the producer side, the creative director side. And even though I've done a lot of those things, learning on to, doing a pitch deck and all the things that are required, that has taken kind of just a different turn for me. But I've had great support from, getting connected with Diana and meeting Ben and other people and you as well, Jay, having people that help support and kind of say like, this was great and this is how you can kind of improve on it. So, just do your research. You have to start somewhere. Starting off somewhere is better than doing it perfectly. I've taken a lot of personality tests, and apparently I'm 50% creative and 50% perfectionist, and that's a really hard line to cross sometimes. So, that I've been able to move back and forth from that as the more I've learned.
Nice.
The old sage. Perfection is the enemy of progress.
I'm like what I mentioned earlier, I'm biased because both my parents are entrepreneurs and I've grown up around business and small business actually. So that has led me, I think, a little bit down the path that I am today. And as Ben mentioned, went to Iowa State University, got really involved in the entrepreneurship programs there. And after that, and actually from an Iowa State, we did a startup job crawl. Where we took a yellow bus down from Ames to Des Moines, Iowa, which is about 30 minutes, and got to then meet all these different startups. And instead of like going to a career fair where you're wearing like stuffy jackets and a tie and dress, we were all pretty casual, meeting startups actually over beer. And that's actually when I got connected to the startup here in Des Moines that is called Dwolla. And it's a payment startup, and it has changed its model. It's probably raised now over $75 million. And I got to join kind of that starting team when it was just 15 people and 15 employees. And got to experience a lot as it relates to fast growth, but also there's some ebbs and flows there that actually do happen, and you learn a lot from it. From that, I actually then went to Iowa State to work there within the Entrepreneurship Center and to create new programs for student entrepreneurs. There's 7 colleges there, and there's so much going on, whether it's in engineering and tech or even the liberal arts, the design. It's a lot of fun. And so at Iowa State, I got to really build my own position. And if you're ever in that role, I mean, it's so much fun to have kind of a blank canvas and just figure out what do you want to create today. And that kind of leads me to the partnership and where I'm at today. It is a new role. There's literally not one other person with Startup Community Builder, I think, on LinkedIn. And I think a lot of people are curious, like, what is that? What do you do? And essentially, it's working with entrepreneurs and trying to figure out the value. And so just as you might hire a guide as you were to go like on a big trip, on a big adventure, I would say that I'm a guide for startups and getting them to connected to the right people at the right time, and ultimately trying to help businesses grow and be successful here a little bit easier, right? So that's a little bit about quickly where I'm at today. Appreciate it.
You know, when you think about some of the different activities that you described, right? You're in the financial realm, you're serving coffee, you're being creative with photography. Perhaps not all of the different slices in that pie chart provide the same amount of financial capital, but talk about the value of the different energies that each of those activities provide and what it takes to stay balanced in order to not dilute yourself to mediocrity while you explore a variety of activities.
I think the banking industry has given me a great background and for setting up businesses and knowing what the financial world wants from a business is in regards to startup money and cash flow and things like that, and why all of those things are important. And the photography really gives me a good outlet just of being creative and meeting new people and having fun. And there's always things to learn in that environment as well. So I think the possibilities are endless with the photography world. And then in the coffee shop, I was just trying to make an impact in our community. I'm only open 1 day a week right now, but we seem to have a good following so far on the Saturdays when we're open, and just showing that even if it's 1 day or 2 days a week in the rural environment, that all makes a big impact on our economic development in our downtown. And serving people and coffee is one thing that kind of brings people together and kind of jumpstarts the day.
Are there meeting groups, or as a community of entrepreneurs, your Main Street businesses, are there meeting times so you're keeping those conversations going to kind of foster that trust, so business owners are coming to you and saying, we're ready to close down, help us keep this alive?
Yeah, I'd say at this time we do not have specific meeting times. We're a pretty small community of like 2,000 people, and there's about 15, I'd say 15 storefronts, 15 retail spaces. That is something that we do need to consider doing. So it's not the same people all the time having conversations, and to, I guess, continue to spark the entrepreneur spirit. To make sure that that doesn't happen.
Speaking of energy, I think of the educational environments, some of that younger generation, the genre that you mentioned. How are you crafting like a playbook, some guides, almost like a succession planning checklist, right, for some of these existing business owners, so that they can recognize that there might be interest in these types of activities, and how to generate, how to lean into a resource that might be supporting that type of activity, and connecting that with the younger generation within the educational environment, so that you kind of have this generational gap that's being closed.
I just wrote that down because that is an excellent idea, and that is something that we should consider talking to the schools and maybe some of their career day things, and having conversations about how you can do things in small towns and you don't have to leave to be successful, and kind of bridging that gap. So we're going to have to make some efforts there with our school system, and trying to be more open to the younger generation and how they can help.
Well, and Marcy, I think that brings up, some of what we've been talking about. How do we utilize larger metro markets who really have a workforce behind economic development and help balance these usually voluntary rural efforts while still playing on the strengths that these larger metro markets have to bring this kind of work to life? And I think even leaning into the work that they're able to do with entrepreneurs both ways.
Yeah, I would agree. And when we did our What Could Be tour, from the survey results, when we said we needed a bakery and we needed a brewery and things like that, we specifically invited bakeries and breweries from our surrounding communities, sent them a letter, said, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is what our community survey said. Would you come join our tour? See what we have to offer. I'm not sure if anybody that we invited specifically for those businesses showed up, but we continued to send them, hey, reminder, this is what's going on. We sent them a thank you for considering coming to our event, things like that. So we did try to bridge that, and we need to continue to do that.